Breaking news into CBS Sports HQ. The Boston Celtics are trading Jrue Holiday to the Trailblazers for Anthony Simons and 2 second-round picks. That's according to multiple reports. Simons averaged 19.3 points and 4.8 assists per game this season. This is the second time Holiday has been traded to Portland. He went to the Trailblazers from Milwaukee in the Damian Lillard trade, but was then traded to Boston 4 days later. So in the trade, Blazers receiving the 35-year-old guard. Meanwhile, the Celtics pick up Anthony Simons and a pair of future second-round draft picks. For what it's worth, Celtics move from plus 1,300 to plus 1,600 to win the title after the trade. We're now joined by CBS Sports NBA analyst Sam Quinn following the news of the Jrue Holiday trade. And this move appears as a product of Brad Stevens trying to maybe start retooling this Boston roster. Holiday had 3 years remaining on his current $134 million deal, the final year being a player option. You're without Jason Tatum for the foreseeable future. You're offloading the salary. Was that the driving force maybe behind the trade, or is it to maybe get younger for the time being?
It's a little bit of everything, right? I can't believe Brad Stevens pulled this off again. I don't think he's lost the trade yet as Boston's GM. So in the short term, they were $22 million above the second apron before this trade. They've started cutting into that. They're now down to $18 million above the second apron after this trade. Simons is 9 years younger. He does things offensively that the Celtics didn't really have before, right? He can actually get to the paint. He's a great closer late in games offensively. Long term, he's going to be a great fit next to Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown on offense. But in the short term, Jrue Holiday is 35. He has 3 expensive years left on his contract, and the Blazers are trading a young guard in his prime who's a pretty good offensive player to get him. That doesn't really make much sense to me, especially when you look at this financially. Jrue Holiday has those 3 expensive years left on his contract that are going to come as he ages. Anthony Simons is on an expiring deal. If Boston wants to solve its long-term financial problems, they can just let Simons walk at the end of the year. They're in a perfect situation here. Jrue Holiday took a major step back on offense last year. Still a very good defender. Probably not somebody you can defend all 5 positions anymore, right? Probably not quick enough to guard the fastest guards in the NBA. Probably better suited to defend up a little bit. But at 35, he's probably on the way down. The Celtics turned him into a player who last year I think was roughly similar and is headed in an upward trajectory. And they saved money in the deal. It's a home run for Boston.
Sam, I'm going to tell you, you sound so passionate about this. I think there's a lot of question marks surrounding this move, but let's look on the positive side here a little bit. How does Simons maybe fit with the Celtics team? Since, in your words, it seems like this is a big come up for Boston.
Yeah, absolutely. This is a really good trade for them. I mean, if you think about it in the short term, they're not going to have Jason Tatum for most of next year or all of next year. They're going to need some more shot creation, right? Well, that's what Anthony Simons does. He's defensively vulnerable, not a great playmaker, but he can score the basketball and he can do it from just about anywhere on the floor. He can get to the rim. He's a very good shooter. He's very comfortable late in games. He was Portland's closer last year, and he's young, right? That's going to be important for Boston as Jaylen Brown kind of ages into his prime and beyond. Jason Tatum might not be quite himself when he comes back from that torn Achilles. They needed a little bit more explosiveness on offense, and they got it here without sacrificing any future first-round picks, without giving up any of their younger players that are, more essential. They gave up a player they were going to have to move anyway for financial reasons, and in the process, they improved their offense.
It's sounding like maybe a Brad Stevens masterclass that we're watching unfold, but reports are indicating that the Celtics are just getting started with trades this offseason. What do you imagine could be next for them in the trade market, especially as you're saying they're finding ways to make things work in their favor?
I think all eyes right now should be on Derek White. So as we've covered, they're above the second apron. They need to shave about $18 million to get below it. I think that's going to be a priority for them for a variety of reasons. They just added a starting caliber guard, right? They have Peyton Pritchard, the 6th man of the year on their team. They're pretty set in the backcourt with offense. I wonder now if they're looking at Derek White, who's a little bit older. He's in his 30s. Do you move him now at the peak of his value, get several first-round picks back, save some money in the process, and just hand his job to Simons? I think that's going to be in play for Boston. But whether it's Derek White or Kristaps Porzingis or maybe even Jaylen Brown, the Celtics have to shed some money. They are not going to be a second apron team next year. It makes no sense for them with Tatum hurt. So I do think there is going to be a follow-up move here. I think getting Simons probably sets us up for a White deal if somebody is willing to meet Boston's price.
Yeah, Boston's certainly one of those teams that needs to shed a little bit of salary, but this also does mark the second time in the last year that Jrue Holiday has been traded to Portland. Last year being shipped to Boston. So if not Portland this time around, then where?
I think he actually is going to stay in Portland. Here's what I think Portland's motivation is here. First of all, they have Scoot Henderson and Shaedon Sharpe, young guards who needed starting spots. Simons was getting in the way of that. Now you can pretty easily elevate them, hand the offense to them, and bring in Jrue Holiday under the logic that since he can defend forwards, they can start him alongside those guards or even bring him off of the bench. The other really important piece of this, Jrue Holiday is one of the most highly regarded locker room guys, teammates in the entire NBA. He's won the Teammate of the Year award several times. He's won the Sportsmanship award several times. Young players love Jrue Holiday. He is a great mentor, and I'm betting this is a few things for Portland. Number one, they want to tighten up their defense. They are now a defense-first team. That's what they were as they started to ascend, towards the end of last season. Number two, they're older. They think that they can win right now. Maybe not at the championship level, but can you get into the play-in or the playoffs? They think Jrue Holiday can help them take that step. And number three, he's going to be a mentor for the guys they have in place. What they're betting, we just saw Oklahoma City win the championship. Think back to Shai Gilgeous-Alexander's first season in Oklahoma City. Who was he playing with? Chris Paul. Getting a star guard like that next to your younger guys can be a very powerful developmental tool. I think that's what Portland has in mind here. But given the contract involved, given the young player they just gave up, I think they overpaid to do that.
It's a perk, obviously, having a locker room guy, but like you're mentioning, at what cost? But back to Portland twice in the last 2 years. But hey, as we continue on the Blazers, they are a 36-win team last season. But Simons, one of the bright spots on that roster. So now, how do they fill that void?
I think they're really relying on those two young guards, right? They took Scoot Henderson, number 3 overall 2 years ago. Those first 2 years of his career, they've been tough. It's been a struggle for him. They have to find out here and now, is he going to be their point guard of the future? And I think what they realized was with Anthony Simons taking up as much offensive usage as he was, they just couldn't find that out. They had to put the ball in his hands to figure it out. Shaedon Sharpe, another really promising former lottery pick. He's extension eligible this offseason. He's played 3 years. They want to know what they have in him. They have to figure out if they're going to pay him. I don't think this is necessarily about can they fill in the void externally on Anthony Simons. I think they're hoping that they can do it internally. Their young guys can take a real step forward by getting the ball in their hands more. I think they're hoping, and this is not a statement on Anthony Simons, the player. It's a statement on the situation the Blazers were in, that this can be addition by subtraction, that you can get rid of Simons and Henderson and Sharpe can take a step up. They're young enough. They're talented enough to do so. It's time to find out what they're really capable of.
Absolutely. An opportunity for Portland, like you mentioned, to emphasize and build on that defense. Meanwhile, for Boston, that opportunity to shed some of those dollars. Sam Quinn, as always, thanks so much for the insight. And taking a look at Jrue Holiday last season in Boston, well, 30.6 minutes per game. It's worse since the 2015-16 season, just over 11 points per game. Worse in almost 15 years. Field goal percentage sitting at 44%. Assists just under 4 per game. Hoping that maybe new scenery might work in Holiday's favor.